Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, and recently had people who had 3 new subscribers in Ireland and Finland. I've had 12 people. So whatever the fuck I've done has reached Finland. Someone
you talk about everything.
I just chat shit, mate. I'm the king at that.
Before we go any further, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, The Misplaced American. I'm your host, Justin White. I am with Jason this week. If you've listened to previous podcasts before, I've talked to him, and it was interesting because, like I said before, he's pretty much a small Superman. Well, I say small. He's probably bigger than the guy who plays Superman, to be honest with you. But yeah, man. Like my followers, I don't know. Like it's always been like at first it started off as my friends, close friends who were just kind of like, like we'll listen to you. And I was like, I reached a point I was kind of demotivated because I was like, man, I feel like no one's like paying attention. People just listen because they say they listen, but they don't. And then one of my friends messaged me one day, and she was like, I heard you say, as long as you have one regular listener, you're going to keep making episodes. And she's like, just to let you know, I listen to every episode and I love it. You're so motivational. You're so nice hearing you do something different and new. And I was like, well, damn it, I'm going to keep doing it then.
Yeah, totally.
As long as I have one person listening, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah, for sure, mate. For sure. That's what it's all about. And, just keep releasing content that you enjoy doing and what you like talking about, and you're gonna gain followers. You're gonna gain people that are interested in what you're doing.
I'm trying.
Yeah, mate.
I'm trying. It's like I said, it's definitely an uphill battle because, like I said, I have some episodes that are more so like I have one episode that's like I'll get like 100 listeners on it. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then my next episode, which ones I think is really interesting, I'll get like 30 listeners. I was like, what just happened? Like the one I talked about myself one episode for like a 45 minutes talking about me being bullied as a kid, and everyone listened to that one. But the one me talking about being motivational and changing lives or trying to talk to someone who's helping me with mental health, everyone's like, 30 listeners. I'm like,
I know, yeah, it's a bit frustrating, isn't it?
But yeah. So I guess how long have you been doing it though? Like overall, just the podcast thing. Sorry, you might hear my dogs barking in the background.
Yeah, it's all good. So I've been podcasting now for a little over 3 months, and it's been going really well. It's growing and growing and growing and growing, and I'm massively enjoying doing it. Having a huge wide range of guests on, and people like yourself, people that I know and I have a common interest with. So yeah, I've been doing it. I've released somewhere in the region of 19, 20 episodes now, and it's going from success to success. I'm really happy about how it's going forward, actually.
And yeah, your episodes aren't very long. Like I listen to them. I mean, not that it's a bad thing. I actually enjoy shorter episodes of things. And yours are not very long. Maybe like between 30 minutes, 45 minutes sometimes. It's like, I'm like, wow, that's good. Ever since I bought Zoom, my episodes have went from like 30 minutes to like an hour. I'm like, so I have to keep monitoring myself. Like, all right, let me keep it below a certain time because people's attention span, if you aren't talking about something pertinent, people are like gonna lose interest.
So yeah. So in regards to the time thing, if you've got someone on for a particular reason and they want to come on and they want to talk to you about, whether they're health and fitness or whether they want to come on and talk to you about a company they run, what I usually tend to find is within the 20 minutes, you get the core content of what that person's trying to deliver. After that sort of 20-minute period, what you actually start going then is what I call the breakdown phase. And the breakdown phase where that person starts sort of like not talking so much about what they've originally come on to talk about. You start getting to know a little bit more about them. And that's where I usually find between the 20 and 40 minute mark is an absolutely fantastic time to really like pick up people's brains and go down rabbit holes of conversations with people that you wouldn't have even necessarily thought that they would be A, interested in talking about, or B, come on to talk about. So I try to keep my podcast, under the hour usually is sort of like a magic sort of like number for me, but anywhere from sort of like 20 minutes to 40 minutes. And I find that's easily digestible for people. Most people have got lunch breaks at half an hour, 40 minutes. They can chuck it on and it's easy to listen to.
I drive to work, you put it on,
Yeah, totally, mate. Yeah. That's kind of like where I've been going with it, and it's working really well. I think unless you've got someone on with such an in-depth knowledge about a particular subject that everybody wants to listen to, then yeah, you can do that hour, 2 hour, 3 hour podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you know, we're no Joe Rogans here. We're not getting 100 million for for our podcast guest. Sorry, I might have a bit of a technical difficulty.
No, but it's all right. But in the same sense, mate, you know, our content that we're delivering is equally as good in our own field, for sure. He's having bigger and more elaborate guests on, but everyone's an individual and everyone's important. And do you know what? It doesn't matter whether you've got a small story or a big story. Everyone deserves a voice to come on, and there's always an audience for someone to listen to. Someone will always listen.
So yeah, you always, if you have one, like I said, I tell everyone, as long as I have one listener, I'm going to keep making it. So that's me though.
Yeah, for sure, mate. And you're doing great. You know, you're a really nice guy, really humble guy, and for sure, mate. You know, your podcast's in its infancy. You know, in some respects, so's mine as well. And just coming on here and us two having a bit of a talk, a bit of a throw down is the way it should be. You know, there's, like you said it best before, there's enough bread to go around, and there is for sure. Because although, you know, we both do podcasts, and there's I think there's 700,000 podcasts out there in the world, we still deliver our own content and we still have our own listeners. So it really doesn't make no difference.
I will say this is something going to be a bit controversial. I recently just kind of I won't say cut ties. Like I'm still friends with this group and that person. I needed a mental break with everything going on in my life. From a situation. But it was like I had a situation where I took it personal, you know, which should. It's my baby, it's my creation. Now I'm going to take it personal. But it was a bit of criticism, and, you know, and it wasn't more so criticism. It was more so, it seemed like to me like an attack towards me, because it was, I guess the question was, I can't remember what the topic was, but it was like, well, what makes your view on this or your podcast on this different than any other podcast? And I was like, oh, I guess you got to listen and find out, huh? You know, just as a joke.
Yeah.
And then the response was like, well, if it was anything like your other content, it's not worth listening to. And I was like, kind of taken aback a little bit, because I was like, you're my friend.
That's brutal. Yeah, that's
brutal.
Like,
you're my friend, and like I accept criticism, but I don't accept ridicule. Like that's a big difference. And so and again, and so like, I had friends trying to like de-escalate the situation, and I was kind of like, I was like, hey, I don't need you guys to fight my battles for me. I was like, I know what I make isn't for everyone. I have a viewership, I have a listenership, so those people enjoy what I put out. And it kind of went to like, why are you being defensive? Why are you stand coming at me for like defending my baby? And I instead of arguing back, instead of fighting, I immediately just remove myself from the situation, remove myself from this group chat, and kind of just like stop talking to that person.
Yeah.
And
that's out of order. That is that someone actually went out of their way to say that. Listen, change the station.
Yeah, and it's
you've
almost
got a choice.
That's the one thing I always like. I've had people message me. They were like, "Oh, why'd you leave the group chat?" That's just how how he is. He makes jokes. That he just likes to get a rise out of you. And I was like, "Look, I have enough enemies. I don't need my friends to treat me that way."
No.
I was like, the best way to support someone, that even if you don't listen to them or, I guess, agree 100% with that person, they're putting their heart and soul in something. The best way to support that person is not say anything at all if you don't agree. And
mate, I couldn't agree more.
And so I'm the kind of person in my opinion, I go by two rules. I tell everyone my two rules are: one, does it need to be said? And two, am I the one to say it? And 90% of the time, both answers to those are no. So
the thing is, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say something. If someone's just completely going out of their way to target you and talk about your content that you're delivering out there, that you're spending your time doing for free. Listen, your podcast is not an explicit content podcast. I imagine that you're labeling your content as clean for sure. In comparison to what's going on out there in the world, you're only trying to find, sort of like you're trying to steer a path through all of it and just give people a place to come and listen to content. I just think it generally comes down to this, mate. And this is even a bit discriminative towards anybody that hasn't got nothing to do. It's not. It's when people are idle, and idle in the sense that they're not doing anything at that point. They're just ticking over. they look for things to target, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Instagram, whether it be someone's success. And people try to target people that are doing well. And, you know, I always say it like this, mate. I always say it like this. Listen, if you don't like the channel, change it. And the thing is, when someone comes at you with a personal dig, they're poking you in the chest. They're now poking a fully grown man in the chest. There's a difference between being a keyboard warrior and then there's someone actually challenging your reputation and saying something discriminatory about what you're putting out there as a man.
And I'll take criticism. I'll tell everyone. I was like, I message my friends, group of friends. I'm like, hey guys, if take a listen to this, let me know what you think. And I've gotten criticism like, oh, enunciate better. Make sure you slow down when you're talking, things like that. And I'm like, oh, thank you. No, like criticism, and I'll accept criticism. And like I said, what I won't accept is ridicule. No. Like, and there's a massive difference. And maybe, you know, to that person's head, and don't get me wrong, I love this person. Like, I've helped him out a lot. I've given him advice. He's given me advice. You know, it's just that at one moment, kind of in my time of a mental space where I'm not happy, wasn't happy in life. That moment was something I didn't need to hear and didn't want to be around. So instead of arguing, I just removed myself from the situation. I left this group chat. And I haven't been back, and I haven't contacted that person. So, I mean, who knows? That could have been, you know, the end of a friendship over something as, like I said, minuscule to him anyway. It might seem minuscule to him, but to me, it was a big deal because I put money, effort, time to doing this once a week. I apologize to my listeners who were waiting for an episode last week. Life happened, and I couldn't make one last week. Sorry. But, yeah, I put forth an effort to put one out every week, and, you know, and so, like, for a friend, someone who supposed to be in my corner to like pretty much ridicule me for what I'm doing, I was like, all right, well.
But the thing is, though, mate, we're all open to constructive criticism. But then what you got to think about where this constructive criticism is coming from. If you're going to take constructive criticism, take constructive criticism from somebody who's out there and doing it and walking the talk themselves, not someone who isn't doing what you're doing. You know, the pressures to have to release a podcast once a week, twice a week, however many times a week. You know, you don't have to clock in, you don't have to clock out, mate. You certainly don't have to watch your tone. You don't have to watch how fast you're talking, how slow you're talking, and the topics you're talking. This is you. This is the representation of you, and this is totally what Project Possible is for me. I've kept it very simple. Project Possible, what does it mean? When people ask me, what is Project Possible? The project is you, and anything is possible. So I'm going to bring guests on to deliver content that's going to improve my knowledge and help the other people. The thing is, how can that come under criticism when all I'm trying to do is put content out there that's going to help? If you've got a conflict of interest in the things that people are saying on here, take it up with them. It ain't me. I'm just simply bouncing back from them and giving my take on it. You know, we're both very well traveled guys. We're very educated. We've got a hell of a lot more left to learn as well, which is great. That is why we have guests on and we bring them on for our benefit and other people. People shouldn't be pointing the fingers, mate. But the good thing is, you're pushing on, and you're still doing more podcast. You still, I still see you very active on your social media, and you're focused. And it's good that you've come out the other end of a smile, mate.
I will say I ended up calling one of my friends in the States. He was in my previous podcast, and Malachi. He's an author. I was like, man, how do you? I had a friend tell me this what happened. And he was like, look, man, he's like, it's going to happen. He's like, I remember calling you crying when I remember he messaged me, about his review. Somebody sent a negative review. Like, he had all these good reviews, and then he saw the one negative review. And it's like, it was essentially just echoing in his head. He kept saying, like, get over it. It's going to happen. It's like, the more you do this, the more you're going to find people who don't support you. And he's like, don't let that one person overshadow all the good you're doing. No, kind of like what you're saying. And so, like I said, so I would say it definitely sat with me. Even to this day, it sits with me. In my head, I'm always thinking like, what if the content I'm making isn't good enough? So I'm always sitting down thinking, and I've recently gotten to a rut, which is another reason why kind of like last week was just really rough for me to make a podcast episode. It's just so much going on in life with everything going on. And then like that was kind of just echoing in my head. I was like, what if I can't make an episode that's good enough to get someone's attention?
Yeah,
and but then I kind of realized like I'm letting that person win, so I was like, you know what, I can't do this.
Yeah, but the thing is though, mate, it isn't that you've got to make an episode that everyone else is going to enjoy. If you're enjoying it and you've got a good back and forth with your your interview, your guests, or you're on there talking to yourself, as long as mate, I spend time in my garage and I do 20-30 minute video tutorials on certain lifting tips, and I do Pilates tutorials and with my girlfriend, and I'm very active on my live workouts and stuff like that. Your content hasn't always got to be boom, 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 boom. All these top level guys, they've got people running their media, they've got people running things, they've got people underneath them who are sorting out all their audio and finding them guests and stuff like this. Just keep doing what you're doing, mate. You're smashing it. You're a dad, you're a power lifter, you've been in the forces, you've got a lot going for you, mate. Just ignore the bad comments, because I promise you, for every bad comment you'll have 1,000 good, and people will try and attack the people that are doing good, and that's all that's happened here. So just sympathize with them and push on, mate. It's all good. It's all good. Don't dote on that, mate. Honestly, you're doing a great job, and I like the fact that we've managed to collab this podcast and share some positivity. For me, it is totally it's all about just, we're only here once, mate. I ain't got time to worry about what one person is saying. I really haven't got no time to worry about what one person is saying. I'm here to help as many people as I can, have as much of an action-packed, fun-filled life as I can, spread positivity. And you know what? If you're on the bus, you're on the bus. If not, step aside, because I'm moving. It's fine. Just take a step back off the bus. I'm going forward anyway, regardless. So you're with me or you're not.
So
that is literally my philosophy on it, mate.
On that note, what is it that kind of keeps you, like, for me, because I always see you posting on Instagram, and I'm like, man, he's really just like 100% into everything he does. And I was like, I can't you post videos and pictures of you just working out. Like you messaged me one day, hey, I'm doing this Pilates class. You want to join in? I'm like, how does and for me, it's like, I'm so like, it takes so much energy for me to come to the end of the day. Once my baby's asleep, I'm like, all right, I still have to work out. And I'm like, I just spent all day cleaning up after a 1-year-old. It's like, I really don't want to work out. So like, I kind of drag ass into in my garage, and I live. And I have, just like you, I have lifting equipment in my garage. I have no excuse not to walk 10 feet in my garage to go work out. But yeah, like, what is it in your head that triggers? I'm like, you know what? I'm super motivated. Like, especially during this lockdown, I guess for say, because this lockdown has made it hard for everyone to do.
Oh yeah.
It's like, what is it that in your head makes you be like, you know what, this lockdown isn't a thing. I'm going to keep doing it.
Okay, what keeps me going is the fact that we're only here once. I want to keep achieving. I want to keep pushing to be a better person, a better athlete. And I see life as and now I've got full control of my life. There's been certain times in my life where I haven't always necessarily had full control of my life. So now I'm in a situation where I'm surrounded by a good couple of handfuls of people that are really a good support system. I'm writing my own book, Justin. I'm writing my own book. And if I get to the point when I'm 70, 80 years old and I'm sitting in my rocking chair and I haven't got a goddamn good book to read of my lifestyle that I've led for the last 60, 70 years, I'm going to be disappointed, mate. I want to do the Pilates classes. I want to eat the nice food. Yeah, I want to drink the beers, and I want to have the takeaways as well, just as much as the next person. But we're here for a short, fun time. I don't want to be here for a long ass, boring time.
Yeah.
I'm here to live it. I want to wake up every day, and I want to what I do the day before propels me to wake up the next day feeling better. What you did the day before makes you feel better the next day when you get up. How do you feel when you wake up? If you feel lethargic, if you feel no energy, if you're stiff, if you're rusty, they're all reasons because you haven't hit your nutrition the day before, you haven't stretched, you haven't trained, you haven't gone to bed with any clarity of thought, you haven't read a book and learned nothing. So the next day you wake up and you're like, you're dragging your feet. So I try to read a chapter of a book. I try to stretch. I try to hit my macronutrients as best as I can, live, laugh, love, teach and travel. And when I wake up the next day, I feel a little bit more accomplished. And I'm like, right, how can I build on that? I like that feeling. It's addictive. The after feeling is addictive for me. And that motivates me to just keep going. The motivation itself is in the fact that what I'm doing is motivating me. It's like, yeah, I get them days, mate, where I walk out there and it's cold and I open the garage door and it's just gloomy and I have to put the lights on, put my little speaker on and get the music going, playing a bit of DMX or a little bit of Nas, you know, clicking it on. It's like, yeah, let's try and make something happen. You know, you're warming up. And then sometimes you go in there after a pre-workout, mate, and you're ready to pull the rafters off.
Yeah. It's usually how it goes.
It literally is that way, mate.
Yeah. I think it's the best part.
Out of 10 training sessions, probably 6 or 7 of them are good. The other 3 are just
I think it's the best part though. It's like, you know, that's the upside of working out in your own garage. You know, you can control your music, you control your tone, you control your volume, you control everything. Like you know, there's no one else to feed off of. You don't have that person next to you who's like I said, if you whenever you walked in the gym, you know, that one time we were squatting, I was like, you know, it was kind of like I was feeding off your energy of squatting. So I was like, oh, I can keep squatting, you know, like because I was so tired. I'll never forget that day because I was so exhausted. My legs hurt so bad. And I was like, I'm just going to cheat my last set. And you're like, how many sets you have left? And I was like, oh, I have 2 sets left. And then I did my last set. And you were like, oh, you have 1 more set left, right? I'm like, oh. Like, yeah, I have 1 more. But you know, so it's like when you don't have someone like that, you know, you kind of have to dig deeper than what you normally have to, especially when you're home by yourself, no one's watching you. I have my favorite quotes. I have a T-shirt of it actually, it's from Mike Rashid, and it says, "Do champion shit even when no one's looking." Mm-hmm. And I was like, and so something when I was younger, I used to live by, you know, because I was the kind of person, I love people watch me in the gym. I've always been that really, really small guy in the gym who just lift a lot of weight, and people didn't understand how. You know, I love being that skinny, small guy who people just like, wow, you're stronger than me, you know. And so I love being looked at in the gym. So when people weren't around, I wouldn't go as hard. And I started realizing, I was like, wow, my results aren't as good as I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
So I had to start realizing, like, oh, you know, you have to work hard even when no one's looking at you. Like,
yeah, you do.
Sometimes, you know, you aren't going to have people looking at you. Sometimes your phone isn't going to be fully charged. You can't put your videos to Instagram. Sometimes you have to do it just for you. And for me, that was a big thing for me because I was I'm not sure. How old are you, by the way?
32.
So we kind of grew up similar. I'm 29.
Yeah.
I kind of reached a point where, like, you know, social media was a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like we grew up in the MySpace age and everything. So we started documenting everything growing up. So, you know, like constantly putting stuff on social media was like, you know, I remember looking at videos of me from MySpace where I had like my little abs showing, my skinny guy abs showing.
I've got them shots as well, mate. I've got them. They're awful.
Where you don't lift weights, you just have natural skinny abs because you're a teenage boy and testosterone is flowing through your body. But yeah, you know, so it's always been a big thing. So like sometimes, you know, I realize like, you know, I'm not gonna be motivated to post pictures. I don't want to post a video. Sometimes my phone like doesn't want to freak out, doesn't record. So I'm like, all right, how am I gonna push out these last 2 sets of squats at like 65% pause squats, tempo pause squats? Thanks, Lewis, by the way, coach. You know, how am I gonna push these out? You know, sometimes you got to just do it. So
yeah, you have.
This definitely this lockdown definitely pulled out another form of motivation from me, I guess I can say.
It's kind of, for those who have embraced it, it's kind of made those people who've embraced it think, do you know what, I can go in there when, you know, when all the lights aren't on me and no one's around and I can still get it done. And it's what you do when no one's looking that's definitely makes the difference, mate. That's for sure. Who's out there at sort of like 7-8 o'clock in the morning doing fasted cardio, putting that work in, you know, monitoring their meals, doing them pause reps, doing them high volume sets, whatever it happens to be, still adopting that training structure into their lifestyle. Not because it's documented on social media, because it's them. And this is funny that you say that, because I was speaking literally just the other day to one of my mates, and I didn't join Instagram till 3 years ago. I was always on Facebook, but I never really put anything on there. Well, when you consider that between the years of sort of 16 and 23, I competed in well over 20 different powerlifting and bodybuilding shows. Not one single one of them shows ever the result or the pictures or the lifts ever made it to social media. Since I've been on social media the last 3 years, all they are is throwbacks. They're just oh, Jason did do that, or he did do that. But that's cool because that was a bit more, it felt like a bit more personal between me and the groups of people that were there, that were taking pictures on Polaroid cameras.
Yeah.
It was quite nice. Now, I didn't have my first computer in my house till I was 18. I had my first actual PC. I had my first mobile phone when I think I was 14, 15.
Oh,
so
no, don't get me started on that.
I grew up relatively without it, mate. I was still making tree houses and, you know, go-karts and stuff when I was a young lad, luckily. And, you know, as much so as I bet you did as well, growing up without the sort of like the technological impact in your life. And
yeah, we didn't really have much of a choice though. Like,
no,
so,
we didn't have a choice.
We grew up as it was coming. So like we're the iPod kids. You know, iPods was made when we were younger.
Yeah.
I remember VHS was being phased out, things like that. So, you know, like,
yeah,
like technology advanced while we grew up. So we're technically growing with technology. So we're fortunate enough to be with the curve, whereas our parents just could not fathom or gather how this curve was working at all. Like, I still have to set up surround sound for my family.
I remember the first ever movie I ever went to watch at the cinema, and don't quote me on it, I'm pretty sure it was 1991, and it was or 1993, and it was Jurassic Park. That's the first ever movie I went to watch at the cinema, and I had that on VHS. I had Jurassic Park on VHS. That is old school. Jesus. I had Pumping Iron as well.
Oh, the original one.
The original. Yeah, I'm definitely showing my age now, but yeah, it's, you know, technology was being sort of like integrated into our lives as we were growing up in the 90s, but luckily we had still like the innocent years, and it's kind of been really strange going back to being in your garage gym with like no motivation from the outside world, and there's no back and forth between gym partners and that banter when you walk into the gym, to the point where it's like, I've got to test my own metal and go in there and get it done. And I see you're still putting up the numbers, mate, and you're still doing the work.
It's really hard with no gym rivals, though. It's like, I feel like everyone has like a low key secret gym rival, and then when they walk in the gym, you're like, I'm gonna outlift you today.
Yeah,
for
they
no
do.
reason at all. For absolutely no reason at all. But yeah, everyone has those. But yeah,
they do.
It's really hard to do without that person.
I couldn't agree more. And it's kind of like, a lot of people have said to me, actually, what, you know, sort of like, who are you motivating you? Who are you going to compete against whilst you're in this lockdown? What numbers are you trying to throw up? And I just say this to them. I'm like, listen, I put up good enough numbers when I was in my early 20s, and I got to a good enough competition condition that I'll just be happy to beat what I have been. That's enough for me. Let's just deal with that for this lockdown. And then when we come out of this lockdown, I'm going to start, you know, taking out bigger heads. Do you know what I mean?
Jeez, man. Have you ever been hurt though?
I've had some injuries, mate. Yeah,
like,
I have.
Like career-ending injuries that you came back from, or?
So I have virtually tore my LCL in my leg, which I never had surgery for, in my knee. I stretched my LCL to its like full limit before it snapped. I do have patella tendonitis in my right kneecap, which, as long as I stretch and I massage it, it's pretty cool. I've done my rotator cuff. I broke my thumb. What else have I done? I've had tendonitis in my elbows. I've got carpal tunnel now, which is quite frustrating.
Where's that from?
So carpal tunnel's repetitive strain.
Yeah.
That's just from years of working on site. But as I sit here now, touch wood, all that I generally get a bit of an issue with is my thumb locks up every now and again, and carpal tunnel. The rest of my body, as long as I stretch and I do hot cold and I'm careful about my warm-ups before I do anything explosive, I'm all right, mate. I'm still good to go full throttle for at least another 10 years. Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, my biggest issue is the same. I tore like pretty much essentially every ligament in my knee in high school, and like a dumb high school kid, instead of going to the doctor and trying to tell people, I toughed it out. I'm like, I'm going to tough it out, and I kept making it worse and worse. But yeah, essentially I had to have knee surgery, and they did apparently some experimental surgery that no one's ever heard of. I essentially have a piece of plastic for a meniscus.
Wow.
But yeah, is it? Yeah. Well, as a teenager, I guess you're supposed to just shave it down and like let it. It doesn't repair itself, but you don't shave it down, like the whatever part's torn, and then like kind of just heal it, like let the quad get stronger so like it doesn't slip anymore, or whatever that works. Problem was, like, they completely removed my meniscus and put a fake piece of meniscus in there, and that tore when I was an adult, and they can't fix that without like essentially replacing a meniscus again. So I would have to go into a surgery and have that replaced again. So essentially I have a really, really bad meniscus. So when people ask me why I do legs a lot, it's because I was told the
To strengthen the muscles.
the stronger your quads, the better your stability is in your meniscus and your knee.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever seen pictures of my quads, they're massive compared to anything else in my body, because like I've always been told bigger, stronger quads mean you have a more stable knee. But with that caused such a big issue with my posture. So now, like, if you ever see me standing with my shirt off, my left side and right side are almost tilted because I've walked with a limp for so long. And I was a person who I used to always walk in like heeled shoes, or I'm so big on like, I've been barefoot this entire lockdown, or my shoes have been really wide toe. If I do use shoes, they're really wide toe. And my posture has gotten so much better. You know, like small things. I've been doing mobility work a lot more now. And my back hurts a lot less. You know.
Yeah.
And stuff, you know, you wish you can go back to your 20-year-old or 18-year-old or even 16-year-old self and be like, look, you might think stretching is girly, it's gay, like it's stupid. Shut up, do it.
Yeah, totally. That's one thing I said, that if I could go back, I would change. I would definitely stretch a lot more. And it's interesting what you said about like your spine and your back and all that. Like, since you've sort of like backed off a little bit and you're focusing a little bit more on yourself. Hence why I do Pilates, mate. You know, I've got to give massive credit to Kelly. Obviously, she's really, you know, sort of like well respected within the industry of health and fitness, especially Pilates, being an assessor and instructor, and she's really shown me the way with that. I mean, I've got qualifications in you know, mobility and stretching as a whole, but when it comes to understanding the science behind spinal deviations, lordosis, all these sort of like big technical terms when it comes to the spine and realigning your pelvis and all the rest of it, like she's really helped me out massively with it, mate. And I really think something like that at this point in our lives, having done so much prior exercise, is something that we really need to focus on, mate, to have any kind of longevity. I realise that if I don't start stretching in the next couple of years, I'm going to shorten my longevity in training by, I'm just going to chop it in half.
But also, yeah, like I said, consistency with it. Because like I said, the whole thing where everyone kind of just now realizes it's like, you know, the amount of injury between someone who doesn't stretch and someone who sometimes stretches are pretty much equal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's essentially, it's like either you do it and stick with it, or you just kind of you don't.
Yeah,
it's essentially that. But yeah, like I said, it might not be stretching, just mobility and functionality. You know, just, you know, because a lot of people, I see people on Instagram, and I've had to stop, you know, commenting on random people's posts, you know, like squatting, and then like I'll see like I'll see videos of myself, and I was like, okay, I squat, I have to change this, or I have a coach that does it for me, like, hey, you're doing this wrong. Put your ribs down, you know, tuck your hips more, shoot up with your hip, no, plant your feet, stuff like that, you know. But then I see videos of people, you know, posting videos, and they're like essentially doing a good morning before they do a squat. I'm like, oh my God. Or like, you know, or deadlift, and like I see like, you know, some spinal flexion is fine, but like they're like, it essentially looks like they're folding in half before they pull the deadlift up, before the weight even leaves the ground. I'm like,
their back's bent over like
I'm
a
like,
quaver.
dear Lord, stop. And, you know, it's just like that. So it's like everything from like, you know, functionality, mobility. It's like stuff that, you know, when you're younger, when you're bro lifting, I guess you could say, all you want to do is just push as much weight as possible and get strong as heck all the time and lift heavy weight all the time. And sometimes you really have to it might seem demoralizing or demotivating, but sometimes you have to go down to like, you know, your 30%, your 50% weight and work up from there. You know, I'm with my, like, I have the most embarrassing bench ever. Like I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of it anymore, but my bench is horrible. And like in America, I guess most guys can bench I guess I don't know what it is in kilos, but like 300 pounds, 315 pounds is a typical thing with a guy.
3 plates aside.
Yeah. 3 plates on each side, something a guy can lift, and I can't. And it's such a big thing for me. But it's because for so long I was benching wrong. I have super long arms, and I was essentially almost every time I bench was doing close grip bench. So, and then I've learned how to like spread my arms out a little more. But then I started realizing, like, you know, I was completely flat on the bench, and I was getting shoulder issues. And to come to find out, you know, maybe not an excessive arch, but tucking your shoulders into the bench, or digging your lats into the bench, helps you with your shoulder rotation, and stuff like that, and, you know, things like that. And I was like, wow, this is, you know, things you don't think about, that you don't research, or unless you have a coach, you wouldn't know. And so I like, like I said, if I could just go back to old me and like younger me and be like, look, get a coach, get some advice, like listen to people,
Yeah, for
do
sure.
everything you can, because it hurts. Like now, like I'm constantly now I'm playing. What's the word? Whereas before I could have been playing I could have prevented it. Now I guess I'm trying to play like maintenance. I'm trying to keep my car together as long as possible before before I have to, like, kick the bucket.
But you, in the same sense, you never had anyone back then saying, listen, you've got slightly longer limbs, you're better suited for this. Your biomechanical restrictions are there with your bench press, whereas with your deadlift, they're advantageous. And that's just it, like you said about, digging your really tensing your lats, having that sort of like not excessive, but sort of like mild arch in your back, going wider, limits your distance of bar travel from your chest to lock out, which would obviously be perfect for you. If you're going flat benched and you're almost going narrow, if you've got long limbs, you could be going 2-3 inches further than someone like myself with the same weight,
causing shoulder issues. This is at the point that your elbows are literally going past the bench at this point. So, like, for me anyway, like it's essentially, if anyone's ever seen me bench, it's like even wide grip, my whenever I unrack it, it's like over the back of the bench. It's ridiculous.
The thing is, it's like, you said about stretching and what regimes and stuff you do. I would always err on the side of doing more mobility over stretching before. Mobility and stretching are effectively two different things. You've got mobilizing of a joint, and then you've got stretching of your actual muscle tissue. Now, I understand that you need to stretch your muscles out to the point where they're pliable, they're moving. You wouldn't just stretch an elastic band when it's freezing cold. However, there's a lot of research that sort of like indicates that stretching before you work out, you can lose the elasticity in your muscles.
It's actually detrimental to working out.
Detrimental, but then in the same sense, if it's detrimental, if I went into the gym freezing cold and picked up the 40-kilo dumbbells, a lot of people warm up through the movement. For me personally, I would rather take 20% off my max lift, work on repetitions, and know I'm fully warm. Like I was doing pistol squats the other day, for example, but a lot of people message me and go, oh, how are you doing pistol squats? Wow, how low can you get? And I'm like, listen, I'm not doing anything different than anyone can do. All I did was I did 3 stretches before I started. I did open gate and close gate. I did pigeon stretch and I did baby stretch. They're all the most basic of maneuvers. I just did them a number of times. I squatted 10 sets. So I did like 10-10 on whatever it is, 100 kilo or 90 kilo. I was warm enough. I was mobile enough. I then went over to the bench and I did some knee raise plyometrics where I took my knees up in the air, like a knee drive with one leg on the bench. Then that enabled me to have such my mobility in my actual ball and socket joint in my hip was that loose and warm. It enabled me to drop straight into that pistol squat. If I went out there now and tried doing a pistol squat, you'd be like, is that guy even trained? What's he doing?
It's the same thing with me. I tell people with my deadlift, like normally when people come to deadlift ask me about questions, I'm normally around like 250 at this point. And whenever I'm in the gym, I'm around like 250, 260. And so like my sets of like 2 or 3. And I feel like I don't want people to think, I'm maxing out. People are like, oh, what's your max? And I'm like, oh, this isn't my max. I'm just, doing sets of 2 or 3 because my coach programmed it. But I was like, for me to warm up, like I don't just come in the gym like, he'll have me do like, open my hip workout, like I'll do like, what's it called? Heel up squats, goblet squats, like no weight required, just like squat, like constant move, just get the muscles warm, no stretching, just movements. And then when it comes to like the deadlift movement, I start like the bar, add 20, like 25, like
through the movement as your like, stretch.
I don't do massive jumps. Well, to me, massive jumps. If my max is 300 or 305, 300.5. I'm not gonna, jump from, so say 20, so 70, 120. I'm not gonna jump straight to 250 at that point. No, I'm going like 70, 120, 170, 200, something like that. I'm gonna make, those small.
Go up in a plate.
Yeah, essentially. And so I always see, I'm not calling anyone out from gains, but I always see people like kids in the gym, walk in, they'll like immediately just see them and their friends will lift, and I'll see one guy struggle to lift, and then he almost gets it, and he drops it, and then his friend goes and almost gets it and drops it, and then they add more weight and try to get that. I'm like, you didn't even get the last weight the right way.
I know. It's frustrating, mate. It's really frustrating. But then there's this obviously the ego that's attached to it. But
it's bro lifting, and that's I've been there. So like I can't get mad at them, because I've been there. And for me to try to tell them, listen to my advice, I can't say that because I've also gotten advice and I didn't listen. So it's just.
It's all you do that bench as the guy behind him, he's got a veins bursting out of his biceps as he's pulling it off his chest. That was all you, bro. That was all you. Yeah, let's put another 20 on. Yeah, I think what you need to do, mate, is back off, put a plate aside on, and work on your range of movement properly.
There is one.
But hey ho, mate.
There is one gentleman who squats in the gym, and it bothers me because it's like I haven't seen him in a while before the COVID situation. I haven't seen him in a while, but he would just like load up the bar with plates, and the bar would be bending. And he's a fairly big guy, so I thought he was gonna get it, and I watched him, and it was like not even a quarter squat. It was like at one point I thought he was doing calf raises, and he racked it. And then one day I remember he asked me for a spot, and I was and I'm not gonna be a dick, but in my head I was like, if you fall, I can't catch this because I don't even squat this much. B, I don't feel comfortable spotting you, and then you
asking me, was that a good rep?
Yeah, because I remember him squatting, and I was like, all right, man, good one, and I like walked away immediately before he asked me questions because I was like, because I'm a terrible liar. If anyone's ever asked me a question and wanted me to lie to you, I couldn't. Like I'm horrible liar. So like, yeah, oh man, but yeah. Oh yeah,
you do see it, mate. You do see it in the gyms, and the people that walk up, do a few shoulder rolls, and then they pick up the 50s and they start benching, and start dumbbell pressing, and then you find out after a little conversation with how's it going? Yeah, it's got a bit of a bad shoulder. Well, mate, it goes without saying that maybe you should be warming your rotator cuffs up, doing some laterals, doing a bit of shoulder isolation work, and building the supporting muscles up a little bit before you start going and doing them movements, or just do bands for a couple of weeks. They're like. The record slips, and they're like,
"Yep,
what rehab? I can't come in here and just do bands."
That's the thing that gets me from being, I actually recently situations came up. I have to stop being a personal trainer again. And as much as I love it, it's really hard because one of the biggest things for me was like, I wasn't getting a lot of clients. Maybe because I'm really bad at promoting myself, also. But the small stuff, people, I remember I had one guy came in, and he was really big on wanting to. He's like, he walked in, he's like, I want to look like you. And I was like, oh, bet, let's do this. Come on. But he was immediately wanting to come in and just push weight. And I was like, we have to start from the beginning. We're not going to use weight right now. And you could tell he was kind of getting kind of bored. And so I kind of had to cater the workouts to him a little bit more. Like, all right, to keep him interested. But and so for me, it was almost like, not ruining, but like kind of bugging my integrity, because I know. If I was going to train someone from the start, and like especially someone who's not familiar or confident or comfortable or with the gym, I'm not going to start you touching a bar at all. Like no, like absolutely not. And so, but you can't tell people that because a lot of people who want to come train with you as a personal trainer, it's like versus weight training, because I was known as a weight training guy. It's like I want to push weights, but I can't tell you, hey, for the first month we're not touching the weight.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's. It's right in what you're saying. If they haven't got the foundations and the fundamental basics ticked off, then they've got nowhere to go from there. And as a coach, as a strength coach, as a personal trainer, you shouldn't really, if your clients come in with no experience, you should be getting them doing the movements with their own body weight, just so they can understand how their body operates before you start getting them doing low bar squatting and benching and sumo deadlifts and Olympic lifting. The amount of people I see in like strength and conditioning facilities doing Olympic lifts, and I'm just like, your internal and external rotation in your shoulders is shot. You're not warmed your rotator cuffs up. You're not doing any snatch balances to warm up through the movement doing any snatching. And it's just like, I'm amazed more people don't get injured. I'm amazed more people don't, or they do, and we just don't hear about it.
Yeah,
I mean, when
yeah.
when you're in your local gym and you can see it in front of you, but the thing is, it's like, where do you draw the line on going up to people and saying, listen, mate, just to be honest with you, take 20 kilos aside off there, mate, and your form will be so much better and it will work more effectively. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I banged out 6. Yeah, but mate, none of them touched your chest, and your mate was pulling them off your chest. Drop the weight and get out a good 15, 20 quality reps, and do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then work up in increments of 5 kilos. You know yourself, mate, for you to get to 300 kilo deadlift, you didn't just one day go in there and just keep lumping on 20 plates. Your increments would have been so small to get there, but people can't see that. They can't see the 105 bench, 110, 115. They think, oh, Justin just went in there. Jason just went in there and he just was able to press 150. No.
I don't even think before my prior meets, I don't even think I got near 300 before even training. Like, I think the highest I would go was like 270 in training. And so for me, like, come to competition and pull like literally almost 35 kilos more than my
that's a big PB.
Yeah, but it's something like, and like my previous coaches I've had told me the same thing. You're a guy who shows up. You're the guy who likes to show up at the competition. That's me. He's like, you're training. He's like, you're not really big on gym PRs. He's like, that's fine. You don't have to show off in the gym. He's like, that's for Instagram. He's like, we're here to compete. And so I was like, and I've always stuck with that. Because you know what, I'm not a gym PR guy. I'm definitely a competition and PR guy.
I like it, mate. That's good. Yeah, you structure your training so you peak on competition day.
Yeah, but this is a good segue to. I know you say you've trained and trainer and you've been helping people. Like I said before, a lot of people want to come to you like for a thing that they notice that you have, and they're like, I want to be like you. Essentially they come to you to be like you. And so my thing was, for me with training, I'm not sure how this is going to be for you. It's really hard for me to. It was really hard for me to tell people no for certain things. Because I'm like, okay, no, we can't do this yet because of this situation. Because in my head, it was going to be, all right, if they can't get it from me, they're going to go to Joe Blow down the street at this other gym and get it for him for the same price, if not cheaper.
Yeah.
And he's going to do it for them and make them hurt for, because some people say it for some reason, hurting is what you're supposed to do after you're at the gym. So like, he's going to make them hurt and make them feel like they did something. And then and he gets my client. So like, how do you overcome that? Because I do want to be a trainer again in the future. That's something I love. My passion is helping people get better. I guess how did you overcome that, or how would you overcome that?
How I did and how I do overcome that is very simply, if someone comes up to me and they're like, Jason, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do that. I'm like, right, listen. First and foremost, before we go any further, I just want you to be realistic. I want you to not be aiming here. I want you to be focusing here, and I want you to gain a strong foundation. And when they go, a strong foundation, I go, yeah, what I want you to do is I want you to incorporate your cardio. I want you to incorporate your strength-based workouts. I want you to incorporate muscular endurance and mobility. 4 aspects to their training and their recovery. They go, okay, then, so why them 4 basic principles? I'm like, them 4 basic principles, because off them basic principles, there's more legs that can come off them basic principles. And they're like, oh, right, okay, so what can be developed from that and from that and from that? I'm like, understanding if you can gain a foundation in all the areas of physical fitness, you have so much more options available for you to going forward. If you just come in and you want to pigeonhole yourself and go, I just want to get strong, or I just want to get this, then maybe not necessarily I'm the kind of guy that you probably don't want to be working with, because although I can take you down that one avenue and get you better at that, I want you to become a better all-round person. And I say it time and time again, I would rather be great for 50 years than amazing for 10. And my clients that I've had and do have and will have in the future, I talk to them, I make their goals realistic, I make them be the ones that actually think about what direction they want to go with their training, and I tell them to stick to the 4 basics, which is mobility, strength work, muscular endurance, and cardio. If you implement all of them 4 basics at the start of your training, as someone is completely fresh, you have so many options for you, because you will not have a weakness. Why just go, I want to be the strongest, or I want to be the most ripped, or I want to be able to run a marathon? Why not? Do you not want to do them all? How do you think that I'm able to incorporate all of these things into my training regime? It's not because I'm any different to anybody else. It's because I have understood and I've grasped and I've built the foundations to be able to do them all. So I can jump, I can swim, I can lift big weights, and I've got muscular endurance. No, not because I'm better than anyone else. No, because when no one was looking, I implemented these things. So now, as a 32-year-old man, I'm not suddenly trying to have to switch to do them. They're always been there. And then your clients sort of look at you and they're like, shit, man, I can be anything I want to be, can't I? I'm like, yeah, you don't just have to just try and get abs. You don't just have to try and deadlift as much as you can or do a marathon. Why not train for all of them and progress in all of them? Your options are so much better, and they become a better rounded athlete. They have a better understanding of how their body works. They're going to stay with you longer, and they're going to have more clarity on vision going forward, and they're going to stay motivated, and they're not going to drop off.
See, that's so funny you say that about, like well-rounded and everything. I'm actually, I just messaged one of my friends last night. Shout out to Andrew. I was like, man, because I know he said he used to do marathons. I was like, hey man, I don't want to be the same person coming out of this lockdown. I was like, can you like give me some advice on running? Like, and if anyone knows me, I had someone. I ran the other night. It's an actual thing that happened. I decided. I woke up one morning at like 5 a.m. I was like, I can't sleep. I'm going to run.
I can do this.
And without any, to be clear, I have not actually practiced or ran since I got out of the military in 2017. And my last PT test was June 2016. So yeah, so 2016 was the last time I actually trained for running. And I was like, I'm going to run. This was recent. And I got up and I ran. And I thought, I was like, I'm getting it. I'm running out my neighborhood. I'm going to this running path. And I get like to the running path. I get to the running path from my house. And like someone called me. And my friends was like, oh, how you doing? I'm like, I was like, I don't know, but I think I'm having a stroke. I was like, my neck is hurting. My neck and my
Did you have to stop?
I legit stopped and put my hands on my knees, and I was like, I must have run at least a mile and a half right now. And I think I had run maybe a half a mile at that point.
Oh, mate. Do you know what? I've underestimated running so many times. It's savage.
And so I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to keep doing this. And I kept running, and I ended up stopping, and I did sprints, and I ran back a little bit. I'm really good at sprints. Running endurance is terrible. So I ran back and got my house. I was like, I had to run at least 3 miles. It was a total mile and a half, I think.
Oh, mate. Yeah, but at least you had to go. And, mate, I don't think I could probably run much further than a mile and a half. The thing is, the night before, when you're lying in bed and you're like, do you know what? I could do that. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and smash it. I had a brainwave idea probably about 5 years ago, mate. I was lying in bed and I don't know what the hell on earth come over me, but I'd convinced myself that I could do a half marathon on a rower. On a Concept 2 rower, and never been on a rower in my life over a long distance. I did it, but I was in a bad way, mate. I fell off the rowing machine. The guy at the gym, I'd come upstairs and was like, Jace, mate, you've been lying on the floor for like 10 minutes. Are you okay? I'm not used to seeing you like this. I'm like, mate, I'm not in a good way. I hobbled home. I was writ off for like 2 or 3 days. I went through that wall and then was like hitting nervous system. Just because I was too stubborn. But the thing is, with running, they say, oh, you get runner's high when you hit that wall, smash through it. I get to that wall with running, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I
have a friend who did marathons when I was stationed in Guam. And he loved running. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, I know I did marathon. It's like, once you finish like 13 miles, it could run like, I was like, 13 miles? It kicks in? I was like, so what do you do the first 12? Like, how do you feel then? He's like, oh, it feels like death. I'm like, so why do you keep doing it? That's just me, though. Like, I used to love running. I used to box. I used to ride my bike, 3 miles to the gym. I got to the gym. I essentially sprinted for a mile on the treadmill, then boxed for 3 hours, then rode my bike 3 miles back home, and then ran again before work that night. And then I was on my feet. I worked at a bar, so I was on my feet the whole night. So I used to love cardio. When I joined the military, I wanted to be in the special forces. I had I was training. I think my mile and a half my mile was down to like below 5 minutes, and I think my mile and a half was maybe like 8.5, 9 minutes, like 9.5 minutes. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be special forces. And then, so I joined the military, and immediately, like, I got military, and they told me I had to run. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
This ain't it.
That was funny what you just said when you spoke to your mate, and he says, "Oh yeah, you get running high when you hit 13 miles." You're like, "I'm at a mile and a half now. What happens?" "Oh mate, you got to keep running to another 11 and a half miles, and you'll hit runners high."
Yeah,
I'm done.
Like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not gonna run. No, but I messaged him. And I was like, I want to be better at running. I want to do. I want. I don't want to come out of this lockdown the same way I went in. I started a podcast. I've actually gymmed more consistently during this lockdown than I ever have in the past probably 2 years, 3 years. This is the most consistent I've ever been. I'm trying to mentally be in a better space. I haven't read as much as I'd like to, but I want to do is I want to be better at running. I want to be better at cardio, and I want to play rugby this year. Something else I want to do. Why I wanted to play rugby. I don't think it's going to happen this year. However, I have been training a little bit for rugby. So
nice. That's a good little change, mate.
But yeah, man. I want to be. 2020 doesn't have to be a bad year. Like it's like I tell everyone. One of my self-help things I read when I was going through a depressive state back in like 2014, 2015 was there's no such thing as a bad day, only bad moments.
Yep.
Essentially, 2020 has been collectively a lot of bad moments, but this has not been a bad year. Like I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about people around me, my circles. I've learned my child. Like I've essentially become a stay-at-home dad, and I've learned essentially what I learned my child. I learned what a child, like what children do and how they develop. Watching her develop has been crazy. So it's just like,
awesome.
So it's like I just don't want to come out of this lockdown the same way I went in. And one of the big things I want to take control of is my heart health.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I started ordering this diet, not diet, but these not diet, recipe, essentially mail order recipes. They send you recipes in the mail, and you can like give you a ticket. You can go to Tesco and buy, the recipe, the everything you need. I'm trying.
That's brilliant, mate. Well done.
I've been eating more calories. I've gained a little weight, which is nice because it's something I've always wanted to do, and I can't do, which is really weird because I have like I'm a naturally bigger family, but I'm like the runt. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, man. I'm not sure if there's anything like you said you've like to the lockdown's done for you that you've actually enjoyed or rather.
Yeah, so so just leading on from what you were saying, so for me in the lockdown, it's definitely made my circle tighter that I didn't expect to be a tight circle. I've unfortunately said goodbye to a couple of people that weren't so tight to me that I thought, that have sort of fell by the wayside. So I've gained some my mates that are my mates and my family that my family will always be, but I've gained some outsiders that I didn't think that have come in as well, which is great. Obviously I've managed to stay motivated within myself. I started doing a lot more Pilates. I've had a goal going forward for what I want to do is I want to get back into judo. Judo is something that I'm very passionate about, and martial arts. And also I want to start going wakeboarding and doing open water swimming. That's something that I really want to do, because I really want to just immerse myself in that sort of like extreme sports and cold weather. I like the cold water training, and I've been doing ice baths and I've been doing hot and cold therapy for years, and I really want to start getting into open water swimming and maybe a bit of wakeboarding as well. There are things I want to do going forward. Obviously released this Pilates for Men series, which is with me and Kelly, which is going really good, and we had some fantastic amount of numbers on the other day, on Sunday, and it's coming up again this Sunday coming next week, which is fantastic. It's going to be episode 2. It's led by Kelly, who's an assessor and an instructor, so she's well certified to do it. And then there's kind of me, who's the guinea pig, who's being the guy who's sort of running through the fundamental differences in anatomy between male and female, and things that guys who lift and train and are athletes, or even sedentary guys, want to do to improve their health via stretching and mobility. I'm sort of there as a bit of a gateway to show them how to do it. So that's that's something that we're doing. So yeah, mate, real big things planned. Got a couple of holidays that are kind of up in the air at the moment. I've got California.
You should just go ahead and cancel those.
Oh, mate, I don't think Turkey's happening. Tenerife's not happened. Kelly was meant to be in Ibiza, and it's all fell.
Maybe like if these are in December, maybe you might be good. But anything from prior to December, you might as well go ahead and try to get your money back.
Yeah, we've had an email from Virgin Atlantic to say that we can cancel California. So my good friend,
Virgin like almost bankrupt or like going?
They've sent an email to say we can basically switch our money onto another flight or have a refund. But luckily my mate's Jinder is an Indian lad, so his family home is out in Goa, so we can just there doesn't seem to be any travel restrictions going that way. It's going that way.
It almost seems like the rest of the world other than America and the UK seem to have this coronavirus like under control.
Yeah.
Like, apparently it's, whatever happened with Brexit, it's like in America it's like they let's be on the same accord with how bad we handle the lockdown.
Mate, Sweden and Denmark and all that didn't even go into lockdown, did they?
Did you see that apparently New Zealand had like 19 cases at one point? like New Zealand essentially had no cases. Like, and
it's
they were like
madness.
Like, but they were super strict at one point. They were like, hey, if you're coming to the country, you're gonna be in lockdown for 19. You're gonna be in lockdown for 2 weeks. Like, there's no option. And with here, it was in the UK, and they had mandatory testing. Like, but in the UK, it was kind of like, well, we're not gonna cancel flights. And you can come in. We can't test you because we don't have a result. We don't have anything to test you with. So be careful. Yeah. Same thing with America. You know, it was Americans were like, you know, coronavirus is a hoax. It's not a real thing. But then, like, the rest of the world took it seriously. Oh man. so
it's not even real. Hold on a minute.
Like, essentially how America works is like, if we don't believe you, it's not real. So that's how America works. And the UK is kind of like, we believe you. We see it. We just don't care.
Yeah.
Like, we're bored and we really want to do something. And it sucks because the weather's like, it sucks. If this happened in the wintertime, this would have been like a super cool thing. Hey, stay in your house. Fine. This has been happening. And probably the nicest weather I've had since I've been in the UK.
I know. The weather's been absolutely
consistently peaking. For like the whole lockdown. My birthday was March 13th. From March 13th up until like now, I think I've seen
one day of rain.
Yeah, like what?
My lawn is yellow.
Yeah, like we were just talking about today how we might have to start watering the grass because it's so dry and hot. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, how is this a real thing? But I think this is we're running a little bit over time, so I want to give a shout out to everyone listening. Thank you for listening. I hope everyone's happy. Hope everyone's well. Hope the coronavirus isn't bringing everyone down. Hope everyone's spirits are up. I'm not sure if you want to say anything to people.
Yeah, totally, mate. Just for that. Yeah, everyone stay safe. Watch what you're doing. Be realistic about where you're traveling to and what you're doing, and work within the safety guidelines. I hope you're all well, smashing your goals. Stay positive. We'll come out the other side of this better, well-rounded, stronger people. Only the strong survive. Watch out for the zombies. Peace out.
All right, everyone. Stay safe, stay blessed, and make good choices.